Good morning. It is, I was gonna say April, but it's not. It's March 31st or 30th. It's March 30th. So let's do a little life update, but of course first let's make some coffee. Well, it's technically already made. I'm just transferring the cup for aesthetic purposes, because you know, we try. Today we have a special guest, Maybelle, babysitting, so she will be in the video because, well, I'll explain in a second. This is May. She's looking a little rough. I did not do her makeup. She isn't mine. She is my mom's. She is a rescue. She was found in a dumpster, 13 years old. She's a silk terrier. She's blind, so she has one eye here missing. She got surgery for that. And then this one over here, I don't think she can fully see. So I think in my last video, I mentioned like I was like looking for a job. That is so basically true. I went on interviews, in person, online, like through Zoom, phone screenings, and it's rough out there. But in the process of that, I've really kind of fallen in love with my YouTube channel again and creating and building a structure around it. The camera, I think, is a very honest thing. It really can show you and be a reflection, and I think a big part of why I didn't film so much in 2022 is because like I had alluded to, I was going through quite a bit. I was healing, I think, in every aspect of my life. The last 2 or 3 years were really rough, and anyway, so like March, I think it was 7th, is when like my Saturn return completed and started like right before the pandemic. It makes a lot of sense because those years from that point to literally March 7th was hectic. There was a pandemic, I came back to New York, I moved back to Chile, I came back, I almost went to the south of Spain to teach English. Didn't end up doing that. Applied to a program, moved to Spain. My heart was just ripped into little shreds. I lost my dog. Family members passed. I lost my job in teaching English. I don't even know if people know that. Companies had closed down, and I had questioned basically everything in my life. Made friends in Barcelona. Turns out some people, you know, have healing to do in life. Learning about boundaries, about letting go, and questioning myself. What am I doing with my life? All of those things. And so essentially a Saturn return was that. It ended, and so like it felt kind of like this energetically kind of like breath of fresh air. I felt like for a long time I was kind of really like going through these growing pains in my life. I looked at every decision, like leaving Chile, and I was just like, why did I do that? You know, like you say you wanted these things, you had these things, and then you gave up these things. Was it worth the dream? Like you did it? Was it worth it? Allowing yourself to change, I think, is so important. And that was still like in the beginning of the year, like January, February was still like those themes, a lot of it as well. Letting go, you know, I think when you are in love and things just don't work out or whatever the case may be, then like the other person moves on faster than you. I think that really causes you, like, at least for me, it caused me a lot of pain and a lot of questioning myself of like my self-worth and why am I not enough, which is like really silly to say, but anyway, so that's kind of what happened. And at the same time of like the ends of that coming and the year started very slow, coming back to New York, I have a, you know, interesting relationship with this city. We've been back before many times, but it doesn't mean it gets any easier. I've always come back with the intention of leaving like right away, or at least knowing where I was going to, and like all of my energy was on that. And this time around, I don't have like the exact plan necessarily. That has been interesting to kind of figure out. And then also at the same time, reprioritizing certain things in my life that I didn't necessarily prioritize before, especially like in the last year and a half, because I was going through like mentally and emotionally, like just trying to digest and navigate and go through all of those emotions. You know, how I've changed as well. There was so much of life that's happened in terms of traveling, in terms of living abroad. I kind of also needed to figure out, after all of this, who am I exactly? What part of me stays? What part of me goes? And that was difficult to do because you ask yourself tough questions and then you have to be honest to receive some of those tough answers that you know, but you have to accept. I mean, back in New York was, you know, difficult. It's always difficult, if I'm honest. It's just, I love living abroad so much. But I'm taking it as an opportunity to really focus on building a solid foundation in terms of habits and creating and filming and things like that I didn't necessarily have before, and I'm taking it as an opportunity to like having the time and the space to do that. But it hasn't always been super easy, I would say, because I've moved abroad and back kind of many times. You know, as much as I have like friends from college here and family, you know, life still happens when you're gone. People have, you know, experiences and life, and you're not always a part of them. Your friendships aren't the same way, like you still have love and you're still friends with them, but there were times where you feel like a bit, not lonely necessarily, because I've done a lot of work on like not to feel lonely, but it just, the natural change and progression of how friendships do change as you get older, and realizing that, you know, they're not the same as they used to, and that's okay because life happens, and sometimes, you know, you are closer to certain people and stuff at different parts of your life, but just handling that was a challenge like in the very beginning. And then also because the friends that I've made a really close bond with as well, later part of my 20s, they're all over the world. I mean, and they're in Chile, in Brazil, in Ireland, in the UK, in Cyprus. They're scattered, and there's time zones that are involved, and schedules and life as well. And so to try to nurture and build those friendships still from afar, trying to navigate the friendships that were here and you have for like many, many years, you know, it's a challenge, and that's something that I've been trying to navigate. And also like just the transportation, like I really don't like it here. I miss the transportation in Barcelona so much. It's reliable, it's clean, it feels safe. In this quarter, if you will, I kind of like split up my year into quarters. January was kind of just remembering to just decompress and stand up. But I really wanted to put out 4 videos on YouTube, and I did. So if you haven't seen any of them, they are there. Also in this quarter, I really wanted to focus on like building some habits. Like I had mentioned earlier, the camera is something that doesn't lie. If you've been with me since the very beginning and my time in Chile, you have seen, obviously, like you see how your face changes, right? And you obviously can see that. During the pandemic, I started to exercise and like really focused on my health in that sense and tried to build those habits. But the thing that I realized is that because the world felt like it was falling apart and I couldn't go to Chile like I had planned in May, I think the one thing I felt like I had control of in that moment was that. But then the world kind of got back to normal, if you will. The things that I had kind of pushed to the side because of the pandemic were still there to be dealt with. I didn't focus so much on the physical health, but more on like the mental, emotional, and I think that you can kind of see that. And so I think a part of also in 2022 why I didn't like film so much was because I knew that I wasn't like living up to the habits that I had set in place prior. And also I was really, really judgmental about myself. I can find imperfections and flaws, and it's been a practice of a self-love and compassion of to like not criticize and tear myself apart. When I was living in Barcelona, when I would film, I did a lot of that. I tore myself. I can think about it, like I was so mean to myself. I spent a lot of time working on looking at myself with love and compassion, and the journey of that, this is like not a wellness channel, like I'm not sharing that, but part of living in Barcelona was my structure routine was kind of like thrown just upside down. And what I've been focusing on this month was like really trying to fix my sleep schedule because it's been really bad. So fixing that, which I feel like I have a better like grasp on it. Just meal prepping, like I used to be so good at that during the pandemic, and I get so like overwhelmed by it sometimes. So just like the practice of doing it. I've been going to the gym with my brother. My brother's like super into like health and fitness. He does jiu-jitsu and stuff. Started going with him like 2 months ago. That has been really empowering as well because it made me realize like how, one, I'm like a lot stronger than I thought. I can squat 145, which is just saying pretty cool. He like does boxing and like different types of martial arts, I guess they would be called. I'm not sure. And I really love boxing. I always say, I'm like, I think I was a boxer in another life. I really enjoy it. And I think it also has helped with release some stress, practicing and trying to love myself into change. And not saying there's something wrong with me. It's something that I have tried to do for like all of my life, but I've always done it from a place of I don't like what I see, and so therefore I'm trying to change, but it's never stays. And so what if I did it out of love instead of out of hate? And I did it in a way that could be a bit more sustainable, so when I do move abroad again, it's something that is a necessity in my life and the routine doesn't fall apart. Good morning. Today is March 21st. Really big cup of coffee. Happy second day of spring. Hopefully that brings a lot of, I don't know, good things to you. Let's see, what is my update? I got a haircut. I don't know if you can tell, kind of curled up a little bit, but I got a haircut since I last did my video. Today is my passport renewal day. So here in the US, I'm pretty sure this is standard maybe for like all countries. So when you renew your passport, you have to also send in your old one. Or maybe that's just here. And then you will get back your old passport after you get your new passport. And passport renewal like dates or how long it's taking the process, it's quite a long time here in the US. It's kind of been like that since COVID, when it is annoying. So I'm gonna do the expedited service. That still means that I probably will get it for like another month, maybe 2 months at most, which I'm hoping it's not the case. Yeah, today I'm gonna go to the post office, send it in with my documents and my horrible passport photo that I had to retake. I am not going to show you it, but like, why is it that you always look horrible in your passport photos, no matter how much makeup, how you do your hair? And I filmed yesterday, so I did my hair, I did my makeup. And when I tell you the person in that video is not the same person that is basically in this passport photo, it looks like two different people completely. Like I don't even look like myself, I feel like. But and so yeah, it's going to be the first time that I am without my passport. I've had this passport for 10 years. And yeah, like I don't know, it's really funny how that's kind of how it worked. It's also going to be the longest since I've been without my passport. I've had my passport for 10 years with me at all times. For me to be without it and like not have a passport and it be out there, you know, with the United States government getting renewed is a really mixed feelings. I've felt a little bit of, people are gonna think I'm so dramatic for this, but I think when your identity and who you are is so tied up with like your love of travel, and your way to do that is literally having this and then this that contains like so much of your memories and whatnot. Like not only are there stamps, I have visas in here from the different places that I've lived or even traveled to. They require a visa, and there's so many emotions and memories and experiences that are tied to that. And like this is the, apart from pictures of course and things like that, but this is like the physical representation, like this little blue book, all of those memories, and not only like the joys but also the sadness and the downs and the things that were sacrificed, you know, along the way. It just contains so much. Like people have a resume of their career growth, but for me equally this is that in many ways. The progression of who I am as a person, how I've changed, things that I've valued are all represented in this little book. And the fact that also it happens that I have to renew it before I turn 30 essentially, because it expires when I turn 30, and then for me to be getting a new one, which I got with more pages this time, and for that to kind of be also the point of like, all right, you're gonna start like this new chapter, this new part of this next phase of your life, if you will. But literally a new passport book to be filled with all of these like, you know, adventures and experiences is kind of cool and kind of crazy. But also at the same time, when I like look at this and I look at the girl who was in this passport, and the photo is horrible, but I look at her and she was like 19, 20, and I look at myself now as basically a 30-year-old woman. I think of just how crazy life has been, how beautiful it has been, how hard it has been as well, and how rewarding and how I've changed. And it's gonna be difficult to like be apart from it just because of the value that it has. And I am obviously crying over a passport. Like I know that's so silly, but yeah, there's just a lot in here. I just never want to part from it, but you know, that's part of the process. And it's like letting go of all of these in a sense to make space for more, which is like a very good thing, but also like a very hard thing in many ways, because I could like hug every version of myself. And yeah, so I'm going to be without a passport for a hot minute, but the memories, the experiences, but it's time to make space for new and for new experiences. So I went to the first in-person Latino travel fest. It's the third one because the first two were done remotely because of the pandemic. This is the first one in person. Back in November, I applied to volunteer, and it was really cool, honestly, to be in a room with other Latinos who love traveling. It was honestly really overwhelming almost, but in a good way, and like really inspirational, because I've wanted to travel since I was a kid. I just knew I wanted to go to countries and experience life, because I've always felt that like life could be lived differently than the way I've been exposed to. But the people who were always traveling, whether it was blogs, whether it was vlogs on YouTube, were always a certain type of person from a certain demographic and looked a certain type of way. They never looked like me. They were never another Latina that I was looking at her videos on YouTube about moving abroad or her life abroad or traveling, and never saw those things. And so when I found this community back in 2020, wow, there are people who look like me. And I think sometimes of like what that would have done for me and meant for me when I was younger, having that representation, and representation does matter. And so that was really inspirational. Ariana Davis, and it's What Would Frida Do? A Guide to Living Boldly. And so she was a speaker. I got this tote bag. Asked him like what inspired him to do this. And I don't want to like tell his story, but I'm really paraphrasing here. He had said that like during the pandemic, he was going through things and he was looking into kind of like a creative outlet. And I guess one day he was talking to his mom and he was like, you know, I guess like most of us in life are like wondering, when is it gonna happen? When is this gonna be over? Like, when is it my moment? And his mom was telling him basically that, you know, it took her 25 years to like get the money, I believe, to get a house and build a house in Mexico. And then another like X amount of years to be able to get like the visa or the green card to be able to go and travel back and forth to Mexico after so many years. And the moral of what he was trying to tell me was, con tiempo, with time, we get where we want to go. First goal is, I don't know if anyone's heard of the 75-day hard challenge. It's like a set of rules and you have to follow them for 75 days. And if you like don't do one day, you kind of have to start from the beginning. But then on TikTok, this like version of like 75 days soft came about. So I'm keeping like the same concept and certain rules, changing a few things. I'm not gonna list them all here. I'll list them maybe for like next month or something. Mostly because I want to like really solidify my habits. Like I mentioned, I started doing some things, but I really want to like create a bit more of a structure with them. And for like the next 3 months, particularly starting in April, I need to get better at doing like Instagram and TikTok and like doing more like in real time behind the scenes in a sense. So if you want to follow me on those, where I will be sharing more like updated stuff, little bits of it. And from April, my goal is to post each month. For right now, it's 2 videos of like the types of videos that I've created, and then the end of the month will be this Life Lately series video where I share like the updates of the month. I didn't mention this at the beginning, but if you don't know, I have a podcast. I did release 2 episodes about life in Barcelona, so if you want just more perspective on Barcelona, make sure to listen to my friend Raquel and Flavia, who also lived in Barcelona. I will link their episodes in the description down below. My friend Tiffany, it started with a thing that my boss had told me about like 90 days when you enter like a new job. But we kind of like have transformed it into our own thing, where we basically tell ourselves like when we need support, we just give it 90 days. 90 days is a quarter, 3 months. You can do anything for 90 days. When I was like contemplating whether to leave my master's program, she's like, it's just 90 days. You can finish 90 days. You can do that. When she was like, you know, with her job, I was like, give it 90 days. Just see how you feel after 90 days. Then you can make a decision. And once again, the 90 days comes up and she goes to me,
give yourself 90 days. You know, like just like full-heartedly give everything into just you, and obviously like just put everything into you. At least 90 days. I mean, without letting any doubts creep in, nothing. Just go full 210%.
Besides the fact that I'm really critical of myself, I'm also someone who's like, why are you gonna promote this? Like, who's gonna listen to you? I hate to be the one to be like, what are people gonna think of you if you like, you know, push like the guide that you made that I'm so proud of, but like, what if no one buys it or no one likes it, or I don't know, all of these things that I tell myself that I'm like, I'm gonna do it, but I never get to it because it's like, I think based in a fear of rejection. Show up like just 90 days without any doubt. No doubt in terms of like not thinking of, are you on the right path? Because I do that a lot. I question like, am I doing the right thing? Am I on the right path? No questioning whether someone's going to like it or not, if it's good or not. Just 90 days, show up without any doubt. And I know that's hard and I'm not really sure how I'm gonna do that exactly. I think for me, in the sense of like when I have like that voice creep in of like who's gonna care, who's gonna buy it, is like the moment I need to press publish. For me, I think that's what that means, especially when it comes to like Instagram and it comes to TikTok. And I guess we'll kind of see how that turns out. So those are kind of like the April goals / goals for Q2 of 2023. And yeah, let me know if you have any goals for April or for this kind of second quarter of 2023, whether you're stateside or you're abroad, living abroad somewhere and watching this. Let me know what you're focusing on. And at the end of the month, we can check in. I'll let you know how I'm doing. You can let me know in the comments how you're doing. And yeah, we'll go from there. As always, thank you so much for following this journey as I kind of figure out life and we do it together. And I will see you in the next one. Ciao and ciao from me.